Why does jealousy feel so intense? It hits you without warning, spreading through your mind until it colors every single thought you have. All it takes is a single moment, one passing comment, or a quick glance at someone else's life, and your entire emotional state flips upside down. We're often told that feeling this way means we're toxic, that being jealous is a sign of malice or a broken character. But treating this reaction as something to hide only traps us in a cycle of shame. It stops us from looking under the hood to see the actual psychological machinery firing off in our brains. To figure out what's happening, we have to separate jealousy from envy. Envy is straightforward. It is simply wanting something that someone else has. Jealousy is a highly reactive mix of emotion, driven by an undercurrent of deep-seated fear. Which raises the real question: if this feeling is rooted in fear instead of hate, what exactly is the trigger that sets it off? Human beings are evolutionarily hardwired to scan their environment and compare themselves to the people around them. It is an ingrained survival mechanism. This diagram illustrates where that radar is most active. We are constantly evaluating our position in two main areas: our social status and the security of our personal connections. This constant evaluation is something every single person does. On its own, noticing someone else's success or relationship doesn't guarantee you'll feel jealous. Looking outward is just the spark. For a destructive fire to catch, that spark has to land on a very specific type of internal kindling. That kindling is a pre-existing sense of insecurity. This chart shows an external trigger colliding with an internal vulnerability. A comparison acts as a magnifying glass, blowing an unhealed wound out of proportion. The fallout is intense. The spike splinters into rising anxiety, eventually settling into slow brewing resentment. The cruel irony here is the outcome. By reacting to a perceived threat, you end up creating real emotional distance in the exact relationships you are desperately trying to protect. Left unchecked, jealousy triggers a destructive internal chain reaction that dismantles your own emotional stability from the inside out. When we perform a psychological autopsy on jealousy, we find a specific truth. The anger and resentment you feel on the surface are actually defense armor, worn to protect a profound vulnerability underneath. Jealousy operates like a check engine light. It points directly to a paralyzing fear that you are going to lose something or someone you deeply value. It also signals an internalized belief that you somehow lack worth, or that you aren't enough to hold on to what you have. If you strip away the destructive symptoms, the emotion itself is incredibly useful. It acts as a highly accurate map leading straight to your most deeply hidden insecurities. This means we can choose to reframe how we look at this feeling. We can see it as an understandable expression of vulnerable fear rather than a toxic act of malice. Experiencing it doesn't mean you should isolate yourself in shame. Instead, you can use the moment as a rare, powerful opportunity for genuine emotional self-awareness. Tracing these emotional mechanics backwards, from the surface anger down to the root fear, is the primary step required to finally gain control over the reaction. Subscribe for more deep dives into human psychology, emotional intelligence, and the hidden dynamics of our relationships.